Hey everybody, it's me, DeoGenZ, here with another episode of Pokemon of the Week. This week, we are looking at the furious wrath of a Poliwrath in the RU tier. The way I like to raise this thing is with Substitute. It's sweet! Combined with a Focus Punch and the fact that it's a water fighting type poke to start, its stab will take out anything. Unless it's a ghost type and then you're completely walled. So what makes this thing perfect for Substitute, unlike other pokes, is its ability to get a free switch in with Water Absorb. Now I did put Swift Swim up there just as an option for Rain Dance teams, because this thing doesn't have the greatest speed at a base of 70. So outspeeding your foes to start the Substitute might not work out well, but I recommend always going with Water Absorb anyway, because if you don't, you lose that free switch, and even if you do get a little damage from water type moves, it's way better to get no damage and get, in fact, a 25% boost in health each time you're hit with a water move. So stick with the Water Absorb, and be sure that you have your team equipped with counters to its many weaknesses. Psychic, Electric, Grass, Flying. Something like a Moltres or a Crustle would be good counterparts to your team to switch in, for example, Crustle to set up on your foe, and then switch back when you predict a water-type move coming to get another free heal from your foe, and that will frustrate them considerably. Taking a look at the base stats, we don't really see anything shockingly super, and for that, you'll need to do some remediation on the effort values. You can't just focus all your eggs into one basket. Other than a physical attack, which you will max out, you're going to split up the remaining EVs completely between HP and speed. And you'll notice I went with 129 instead of 126. It's not perfectly divisible by 4, but it will get you 1 point higher of an increase if you add in the other 4 or other 6 rather EVs that are usually kept off to the side and nobody cares about because they're not calculated in that 4 division. So for this, it will let you release lots of substitutes. You need leftovers for this to be a repeatable sort of tactic. And with the moveset, it might make your sub last longer. That is, if you decide to keep Bulk Up as your supporting move on this set. Now, when I say supporting move, I mean support for Poliwrath itself. We're not going to be setting up any sort of entry hazards, we're not going to be making a wall, although Bulk Up sort of makes Poliwrath a pseudo wall later on. But what you can do is add Toxic or Encore, and that will get your team prepared for anything that Poliwrath couldn't take on by itself. So say that nasty ghost type comes out onto the field and it walls your Focus Punch. Well, thankfully you've got Waterfall, but if you want to give it a good send-off, you could Toxify it and switch out, or you could use Encore when it's using a stat boosting move. The only thing you have to be careful of with Encore, and that's why I didn't include it on this set, is because my personal using of it has run into bad prediction. I intend for them to do a supporting move, then they keep using an attack move, or even worse, they use a defensive supporting move, and none of my moves will phase them because I keep allowing them to boost up their own defenses. Now, in the case of that, what you need to do is immediately switch out to the other case of their defense, whether it's special defense or physical defense. Hopefully they're not using a move that boosts both. That's why I kept it off this set. It's a little too much of a wild card for me to use. I'd much rather be boosting my own Poliwrath stats with Bulk Up, building up my defense and physical attack, which are the 2 stats you need to focus on while in a sub. Because the stronger the substitute is, the longer it will remain, and the more Focus Punches, which of course, physical offense, you can unleash. So Bulk Up is the best supporting move I could see for this set. And it's important to mention that for the suggested set from the viewers this week, Badassxscrafy pretty much had the same setup with moves that I did. The only thing different he did was allocate all effort values to special defense and physical offense, and for that I would say that's a little bit of a mishap. It's not really going to help you out because you need some speed in order to keep setting up bulk ups reliably. Now, of course, you want to have HP focused on with effort values, but I just don't see special defense worth raising at this point. The only way that I would consider raising defense or special defense is if I'm looking at a wall type poke. Now, Poliwrath can get sort of bulky thanks to bulk up, but it's not going to remain on the field with few weaknesses to make sure your foe cannot get past the opening gates of your entry hazards. It's just not that kind of poke. It's way better suited to being offensive, and that's why I decided to focus all effort values on attack and then split the rest between speed and health, because those are the two key factors to resetting up subs and making sure you'll stay on the field as long as possible. Now, speaking of staying on the field as long as possible, I want to direct your attention to the additional moves here. If you can tell, we don't have a second set to look at today. That's why I'm taking so much time on set 1 to describe it. We have Rest, Sleep Talk, and Circle Throw. A very interesting combination, and especially when you equip it with maximum health, you don't worry much about speed, and instead you don't have substitute, you're relying on your resting abilities. Now this, again, it's sort of a risky maneuver here, especially when you're putting yourself to sleep and you're not guaranteed that your foe is not going to set up on you. Now, the benefit of having Sleep Talk is that equipped with Rest, Sleep Talk, Circle Throw, and Waterfall, you'll be able to do damage while you're sleeping. Of course, there is that chance that Sleep Talk will try to activate Rest again, and then nothing will happen, and that's the kind of risk that I try to avoid and why I prefer this set. With this set, you're in control fully. You decide when to launch the sub, you decide when the best prediction you can do, a water type move is coming, and when to switch so you can absorb that water and get a 25% health boost. It's all up to you and deciding what moves to use when. And those are really the sets I prefer. Sleep Talk, I've never been too much of a fan of. And the thing is, well, yes, you can switch out if things get a little too drastic in its weaknesses, but the problem is, I'd rather not switch. I'd rather keep this Poliwrath on the field as long as possible and build up bulk ups so its stats are stupendous, and then nothing can touch it. The more that you can boost this Wrath, the better it will be at obliterating your foes. So those are some of the options you have, as this Poliwrath can be used mainly offensively. I've seen, like I said, with Badassxscrafy using a little more defensive set. Definitely suggest going with the Focus Punch, a 150 base attack move. And if you are looking for something that's a little unorthodox, then try the Rest, Sleep Talk, Circle Throw set, because the benefit of Circle Throw, although not as strong as Focus Punch at a 60 base fighting attack, will still be boosted by Stab. It will switch out your foe, and unfortunately for you, you don't know what they're going to switch to. So while it seems like a good thing to keep shuffling your opponent, it might not be so good for Poliwrath in the way of its weaknesses while it is resting. So I've been DeoGenZ, hoping that you enjoyed this episode of Pokemon of the Week, and reminding you to subscribe to Planet Poke for all the updates on this series and others. And if you are looking for some information on how the heck do I raise effort values, I just know how to level up. I don't know all this complex gobbledygook of effort values, individual values, and all that other nonsense. Where do I go? How about youtube.com/DeoGenZ and check out my effort value expertise guide. That will give you a grand tour of how effort values are used. Right now the series is focused on Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but the mechanics apply to all of metagame. Hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you next week.